All right. So I'm here with a recent new good friend, Charles Byrd, who I met through a mastermind out in California. And we got to talking about this world of joint ventures. And what I like to, in what we've talked about before, is this idea of one-to-many marketing. And when we got to talking, I got excited because Charles is one of the foremost experts in this whole, I think the right word is method of marketing, joint venture marketing. And it's probably a lot different than what you think of when you hear joint venture. It's different in his world, and it's incredibly powerful. It's probably one of the best, not only the quickest and fastest way to scale your business, but also long-term. I think what you're doing here is you're building relationships and adding value. And that's, to me, the longevity in any business, right, is the relationships that a business can cultivate. So I'd like to introduce Charles Byrd to you. He is the founder and owner of PureJV. And I would say he's probably one of the foremost experts in this type of marketing out there. So please, Charles, welcome.
Thank you so much, Russell. It's a pleasure to be here. And I too enjoyed our conversations down in San Diego, and I'm excited to share with your folks.
Yeah. So let's talk about this thing called joint venture marketing. A lot of times the way I see this is, and I think we talked about this, like on the monitor of my computer here, I've got a little sticker that says, what value? And every time I do something, I like to say, what value am I putting out there? And is it valuable to somebody? And in my eyes, this whole joint venture marketing it's valuable for me. It's valuable for you. It's valuable for the customers. It's like a value chain that everybody benefits. And yet it's so highly underutilized by most businesses. What's your take on it?
Really, joint ventures are one of the most powerful ways to market at all, because you're not paying for clicks with ads. You only pay partners based on sales made.
Right.
So you're getting in front of very large groups of your ideal clients, your ideal customers. And as they buy your products or services, that's when you pay partners a commission for that opportunity. So you're right. The partner wins, their client base wins, and you do as well. So everyone across the spectrum is going a lot further together. And so this is a matter of not having that be an accident. This is creating that by design systematically over and over and over again.
So it's much more than just a referral program.
That's right. Referrals are certainly part of it. I'm a huge fan of referrals. I got 7 referrals in one day last week. But there's multiple JV types. 4 that I specialize in are joint venture webinars or presentations, or speaking to your ideal clients, speaking to other people's audiences that are full of your ideal clients or customers. So that's number 1. Number 2, referrals. And that can be from partners, customers, people in your orbit who already know, like, and trust you. Then there's another called embedded partnerships. These are extremely powerful. One of my clients 3 weeks ago generated $1 million in 3 days following my process that I taught him on how to create embedded partnerships. This is where part of or all of your product or service is sold inside of someone else's. So every sale they make, you're making one as well. So designing those, these are some of my favorite deals, because you're designing one deal that represents ongoing lead flow and traffic. And then the 4th type are social JVs, doing podcasts, interviews, Facebook Lives, Instagram Lives, things that are getting you out, leveraging social media, guiding your ideal clients straight to you by partnering with other people's audiences. There's a big YouTuber named Evan Carmichael. He's got about 2 million plus followers. And we did a whole video where I'm consulting him on improving his systems and relationships. And that led to a live presentation that he and I did, with me doing a presentation for his audience. So as people watch the video on YouTube, I think it's at around 55,000 views. That guided to a live presentation and then to an offer to one of my training programs. And for people who invested in that, I shared the revenue with Evan. And then we took that live presentation and turned it into one that people can opt into and watch whenever. So it's called Evergreen. And so I'll be making sales off that one presentation for years to come.
It's brilliant leverage. Does this work for any business? Is there any businesses that it doesn't really work for?
Well, it's a matter of getting you in front of more of your ideal clients, leveraging other people's audiences or their client base. Honestly, I can't think of one that it wouldn't work with. I'm sure by nature, it may be easier in some markets than others, but it's not a matter of having a ton of partners. You could have 2 or 3 partners that, when you look at kind of the customer journey from one space to another, to use kind of a simple online type of topic, let's say someone is teaching course building. So they help people build online courses, as an example. They're on a journey. So they create this program. What's the next thing they need once they have the program? They need traffic. They need eyeballs on it. So an easy partnership is someone who provides traffic. That could be referrals to a Facebook ad agency. It could be content marketing as the strategy. It could be joint ventures as the strategy. So, I mean, every business has this flow that a customer takes to get to you and where they lead once you've served them. So partnership opportunities are absolutely endless.
And it's, you mentioned the 4 different types that you specialize in, right? That's, to me, feels like type number 1. Closer, or does it matter? Or?
Sorry, type number 1 is what?
Well, I thought, so the type number 1 that you mentioned was just promotional.
Like presentations.
Webinars, things like that. Yeah,
webinars, exactly.
Yeah. And then, because one of the things that I've done in the past with someone, and because I'm really curious about that embedded one you were talking about. So if we can, let's spend a minute here, because this to me is, I work, a lot of people in my tribe who we work with and help. Everyone today is enamored with this idea of, we run Facebook ads, Google ads, and all this. And it's a 1-to-1 model for customer acquisition, which isn't bad, but man, it takes a lot of work to do that stuff. And there was a gentleman in LA who owned this is the story. He basically, he owned about 6 restaurants, and he was really unhappy with the reservation software that he was using. And he built his own, like most entrepreneurs do, right? Like when you need something, you just build it. So anyway, he built this amazing reservation system, which actually turned into its own business. And we were working together, and because he's a restaurant guy, right? Like he didn't know marketing. He knew how to run a restaurant. And he was we were talking about how to start a blog of all things, which I quickly was like, don't do that. Cause I was like, how many blogs did you read when you owned 6 restaurants? And you don't have 1 minute to spare in that business. But anyway, long story short, we started talking, and this idea, and I never knew the word for it, embedded JV, but I was like, look, if you have a reservation system, who already has the relationship with all the restaurant owners that already talks to them on a technical basis? And I was like, I'm sure there's probably an 800-pound gorilla in the point of sale world for restaurants. And he's like, oh yeah, it's so-and-so, like everybody uses them. And so I was like, well, why don't you go talk to them and either make a licensing deal or just see if they'll promote or do something where, you know, when they're talking to a restaurant owner about installing this point of sale system, here we can bundle in your reservation app. And because they didn't have that. And is that kind of the idea with the embedded?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. These people are speaking with that restaurant owner's ideal customer anyway. Right. So by partnering with them, where as part of their conversation flow, this topic is raised and it creates a pathway. Or in fact, if the customer buys their solution, the reservation system is bundled with it, like you were saying. So there can be different models to do that, from licensing to simple sales commission for it. But everyone's coming out further ahead with that. The restaurant owner is, because they have solutions baked in. They don't have to go research and work through different vendors. The company with that relationship, they're increasing the lifetime value of those customers, along with, depending on how that's sold, the monthly recurring revenue from them. And of course, the company who created it is getting this into all kinds of businesses without having those conversations directly and having the overhead of a sales team. So this is precisely how these are put together and designed.
So that's when we're talking about the JV model, that's a good illustration of it.
It certainly is. It's the restaurant that gives discounts to the theater across the street, and the theater who gives discounts to the restaurant, because they're both serving each other, or bundling offers where when you get dinner and a movie for a certain price. So these are, of course, physical world examples, but you can do a ton with intellectual property, with training, with kind of the example you shared. So it's really one of the most powerful ways to grow your business and do it without any new lead acquisition cost.
And it doesn't take a lot of, I mean, if I'm already set up and I have, the majority of my marketing in terms of whether it's electronic or paper, or however, whatever form the marketing takes. But if that's all done, for me to go implement a JV strategy doesn't require a big shift or investment in creating a bunch of new material.
It's true. If you already have converting marketing materials and strategy, you're basically just snapping it in, and it's bringing in sales and revenue. Mind you, you're paying the partners with money you never would have had before. Yeah. So that's what's awesome. Free.
And how manageable is it from a CEO standpoint? Is it, I mean, I know this is part of your expertise, right? Is helping business owners implement this as a marketing strategy in their business. How do the CEOs and the founders manage this type of a strategy?
Sure. So building this in, it's basically a paint by numbers system that snaps into the business, and businesses that have existing products or services, they know their market, they have converting offers. This literally just snaps in over the top of it. I've had private clients who they were booking JVs within days. One of them booked 3 joint ventures within 3 days of hiring me, that generated $200,000, and then went on to put together a very beautiful embedded partnership with some heavy hitters in our industry. And over a 3-day live event into that offer generated $1 million doing that. So it's as far as like team resources and so forth, for one, getting these systems in place to track these relationships, to know where each partner and potential client is leading off, and picking up, touching base with people right when it's appropriate, knowing how to get the conversations, how to guide those conversations to booked joint venture or collaborative promotions. knowing how to hand it to your operations team to actually execute and fulfill on those promotions.
Right.
And then how to turn every one of those into 2 or 3 more by rebooking with that partner, by figuring out ways to go deeper. If a promotion does really well, you want to leverage that and go a lot deeper with them, along with getting referrals to other people in the industry to replicate that. So it's a systematic way. I call it the system that makes success inevitable, because it's a framework applied to the business that just keeps self-perpetuating.
It does have a tinge or a taste of unbelievability to it, because it can produce such significant results in a very short amount of time. My own experience with affiliate, and is affiliate the appropriate word? Like, well, is that interchangeable or? Here's
the distinction. So again, I'll just use an internet marketing example because they're kind of easy, but imagine I have some type of training available, and I'm generalizing here a little bit, but sure. An affiliate, almost anyone could go sign up to promote that. There's not really a relationship with the people that run that. Yeah. So that's more affiliate. It's just getting people, I don't want to overgeneralize, but kind of randomly an assortment of people to promote, where a joint venture is you and I getting on a call and designing something that's going to be the most powerful and effective. It's a lot deeper relationship. It's like we're all using Zoom. We're using Zoom right now. Zoom has an affiliate program where I can refer somebody and I get a cutback on the sale, right? And again, there's, like you said, there's no relationship there. But the value of what we're talking about here is really in that relationship. That's almost like the collateral that we're exchanging is the relationship value. Relationships are the most important thing on earth. Yes, like if you look at anything that is meaningful in your life, your family, your friends, your peers and colleagues that you have a lot of respect and love for, like this is what makes life enjoyable. This is the marketing strategy that will last forever and always has, where algorithms change. Facebook can shut your account down and your traffic vanishes. I mean, I actually get a lot of clients because of that. Where joint ventures and individual relationships with people and companies diversify your lead flow. Now you're not expecting one source to save the day. Now you have 10, 12, 20 different partners where maybe one changes business models and they vanish. Well, that's okay. There's 19 more. So it does diversify your lead flow, and it's very collaborative too. It's like exchanging ideas and strategies and, hey, have you thought of this? And it's listening to what your goals are and finding ways to get you there faster, whether that's through my products or services or anyone in my network or anything I'm aware of. We each have our set of superpowers that we can support others in. In my case, it's connections, joint venture strategy, and systems. In my business partner's case, Bill Barron, he's a wizard at designing offers that convert really well and helping people with their business strategy. One of the clients I signed yesterday, who I onboarded, he helps people make sure their emails are highly deliverable and they're not getting put in the promotions folder. So we each have our set of superpowers, and we can use those to support our partners and connections to provide value first. Yeah. And I do want to talk a little bit about the stories too, because they are a little bit unbelievable. And a lot of our clients, a lot of the people we work with, they're so used to the hard path, doing the cold calling and the LinkedIn outreach and the one-to-one stuff that, like, this is cutting to the chase. And oftentimes when I talk to people about this one-to-many model, their minds are blown. And it's like we did, my
best story I have around JV marketing is we were running a tea company, and we were marketing the tea as a weight loss tea because it had this metabolic effect. When you drank it, basically the caffeine speeds up your metabolism, right? But we got with a guy who had an enormous email list of about 1 million people in the diet space, and he just didn't promote us. It was a true, I think you're the expert, you can correct me if we're wrong, but we had like a build up. We did the introduction, we did the education, and then finally he sent the email promoting our products because he had this established relationship with his people where they know, like, and trusted him. And so when he said, hey, you should go look at these guys and go buy their tea, I think in 24 hours after him sending that email, we did like 500,000 in sales. And we ended up in the following week having to buy every gram of oolong tea in the United States we could find. Like, we could not find enough supply to sell. And it's stories like that. I'd love to hear some more stories from you about, I don't want to call it overnight success because it's not that. It's when you have the right values lined up, it's amazing what can happen.
So I want to call out a couple things you just said. So for one, you went to a partner who already has your ideal audience, and it's a huge one, 1 million people. They have that relationship with him. They follow him, they trust him, they're getting value from the content he's sharing. If you were to reach out to that same audience by yourself, you'd come in on their radar at a 1 or a 2. You're just a tiny bleep on the internet.
Yeah.
When he invites you in, when he edifies you, when he says, I know these guys, I know their product, this stuff is amazing. Now you're coming in on their radar at a 7 or an 8 or even higher. So they're far more likely to invest with you, to spend more upfront. Their lifetime value is higher. This is what we call warm traffic.
Yeah.
Warm traffic comes in with this edification and know, like, and trust factor. And it's one of the most powerful parts of joint venture promotions. So just a few stories. This next one's kind of fun because one of my clients who I helped learn how to get up and going with joint ventures, he lives in Australia. And I read this in a Facebook post about a month ago. I was just perusing Facebook and I'm like, oh, here's a story from Jackson. So he's saying, by the way, he has around a 12K offer helping businesses like ours keep tabs on the core numbers of the business they need to keep track of and retain more personal wealth. So that's his offer. And he was running Facebook ads. For every $1 he'd put in, he'd get 2 or 3 out. He was loving it. He's like, this is great. Until, and I'm reading this in a post, mind you, until Facebook shuts down his account, like dead cold, traffic gone instantly. So he's figuring out what to do. He's got this team. They're like, we're kind of screwed. And he was referred to me to learn how to do joint ventures. And they were up and going so fast because, again, looking at who they are, they have an existing product or service that's already converting. He's already got his marketing messages dialed in. Right. So all we're doing is putting that in front of the right people through joint venture partnerships. And he focused on doing webinar trainings to other people's audiences, like I do 2 to 6 times a week. And he booked 65 joint ventures in about 2.5 months. He's booking them constantly. And then he offloaded the process to his team. So he's working 40% less than he was before. And he sold his house, bought this insane camper van that's all branded with his company, and he's traveling Australia for a year with his wife and dog, running this multi-million-dollar business through joint ventures. It's really exciting. I love it when people take something cool and then actually go do something cool with it.
Yeah, that's a fabulous. I love those Mercedes Sprinter vans. Is that what he has? I'm obsessed with those things. Those are so cool.
I want to get one. I want to start by renting one because that looks really fun.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I'm sold on the idea, right? Now, to me, there's a couple of big questions that I'd love to ask you around what is the technical side of this look like in terms of tracking the sales, doing the payouts? Is there any legal? I mean, I know in a lot of industries, like if I'm in the financial world, I have to be careful with referral payments, things like that. Can we?
Yeah, that's a good point. I have a few clients I've worked with, some friends of mine, Jim and Mimi, they're in the financial industry. And actually, I think some laws just lightened up on some of those topics. Because in the past, an industry like that, referrals are not allowed. Most industries, it's no issue at all. So let's say you were doing a product launch, for example, and you, like my first joint venture promotion where I got a bunch of partners to promote one particular launch. I had 47 partners on board, including Brian Tracy, the author, who's written a bunch of books on sales and high performance. And basically, you set it up so if you're mailing your audience or inviting your customer base to this training, that's tracked. It has, there's affiliate links and codes so that any traffic you're sending my way, I can tell it came from you as it enters our email systems and things like that. It's tagged as coming from you. And then same goes for the sales of that product or service. Anyone you're sending that buys through your link, there's an affiliate account. You can go see exactly how much money's been generated. And then the payouts, at least the way we do it, the payouts happen 35 days later. There's different ways you can arrange that.
And if you're using software, then the reporting, the verification, all that stuff is really transparent and clean.
Absolutely. So the partner can go see their sales. They can see the numbers in real time. And then a lot of these affiliate systems, the payouts can be automatic as well. So, I mean, I've been running my business the whole time this way. And initially you might think, well, if someone else is collecting the revenue, how do you maintain that visibility? But for one, you're building like a real relationship with the people.
Right.
It's a true connection. There's a lot of trust. And in fact, if you're meeting with someone and you don't get that wonderful vibe of this person seems awesome, I love what they're doing, then don't line up a JV with them.
Yeah.
So you're building these with people you do trust. And so, it's all tracked, and then partners get paid out regularly. And it goes both ways too. Promotions, I wouldn't say you want to line these up by default, but it could be that you're promoting one of my products or services and I promote one of yours as well. So this can go both ways.
Right. So I can also make money selling your stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Not just make money you selling my stuff.
And here's a magical thing about that. When I sell my products or services, I'm responsible for fulfilling on that. I need to deliver. I just wrote it down.
Who does the support?
But if I am promoting your program or service to my audience, I am making that percentage of revenue, but you're the one fulfilling on it. So it's kind of it's magic in the sense you're making revenue without having to fulfill.
Yeah. Yeah. It's in that scenario where our friend sold our tea, his commission payments, like we had a tremendous amount of sales, but we also sent him almost $250,000 in commissions. And all he did was hit send a few times on his email. Like
exactly.
And he had he didn't do any customer support, no fulfillment, no nothing. It was just a cash check for him.
Which is a really beautiful thing. I mean, people that do have audiences or customer bases, people that are currently working with your company or have in the past, you have those relationships. When you have something that is of high value and in service to their goals, why wouldn't you share with them and make some revenue for literally just sending a couple emails?
Again, it's that value ladder. It's just the whole system, the whole strategy is saturated with value, right? Like, I love it. What if I'm not really set up for online stuff, like I do trade shows or I sell my product, going to lunch with people, the more traditional sales model, can I still entertain this marketing strategy?
Certainly. Let's say someone was, speaking at these different in-person kind of events, or a lot of these can easily translate online through, and people had to really reinvent quite a bit over the last year and a half.
Sure did.
Figuring out how to do things via Zoom. You and I have a lot of friends that put on very big live events, or everything was focused on live, and they found that pivoting to virtual, they were then able to reach 3 or 4 times as many people, and actually were doing way better than they were before. So in general, most things can translate fine. You take the elements that work and then look at ways to take that one to many, and also just take things online that maybe haven't been, which also expand your market quite a bit. Then you're not constrained by local geography.
Yeah. So, and you have the expertise that if I wanted to, let's say I've only ever done trade shows in the past, you would be able to walk me down and set up my technical infrastructure so that we could start doing this type of marketing.
Yeah, we'd guide you in the whole process, getting systems in place, training you and your team how to use them. And in general, most of the companies I work with are online, but I'll give you an example. One of my clients is a recruiting company, and I worked with them directly to put my systems in place within their business, which they know their craft inside and out. I know mine. So we brought them together, systematized what they were doing, taught them how to connect and build value first relationships, how to track the details and follow up. I checked in on them a year later. Their revenue had gone from, in their case, 190,000 up to just shy of 600,000. So tripled their revenue by systematizing their processes. And the fun part about that story, Art, my client, he's 84 years old. So family business, it's him and his kids. It's just really satisfying to take this into other verticals and see the results. I've worked with a whole array of different verticals in and out of the internet marketing space. I'd say my focus is in the space, but the principles apply, because let's look at the core of what this is. It's getting your product or service in front of more of your ideal clients systematically. And that's pretty universal. That works across markets.
I was just going to ask, are there any businesses this doesn't work for? But under that guise, really it's any business.
It is. And it's depending on how niche down you are. If you're super niche down, you may have less partner opportunities. That said, they still exist. There's still leaders in your space. There's still people with bigger footholds in the market that are complementary to what you're doing. And it's a matter of identifying those types of opportunities based on the customer journey, learning how to not only identify these folks, but then get introduce to them or reach out in a way where they actually connect and respond.
And that's one of the core functions of what you do, right? Is that research of finding who are the good matches and how do you get involved and start creating these types of strategies?
Absolutely. I onboarded a client yesterday, and that kind of showed the whole overview of how everything works. And then step one was digging in on identifying the best partners out of the gate. And people believe, for some reason in their head, that this is a bunch of cold research on who these people might be, but it's actually the opposite. We want to work from warm. There's people in your industry who already know exactly who you are. We want to work from our warm network and radiate out, having conversations with the people we're actually closest to, but guiding them toward the outcome we're seeking. That could be partnering with them directly or people within their orbit that they can connect you to. And then you're coming in, wowing your partners from a warm intro instead of cold. I've done it cold. It works. It just takes way longer. So
yeah,
might as well do it faster.
Well, we're coming up on the 30-minute mark, and I want to respect your time and thank you for sharing with us this model, because I think it is, I'm sold. Like, this is one of, if not the most powerful marketing strategies. I'd almost label it as a must-do strategy for almost every business. Kind of like, if it's kind of like email. You got to have email. You got to have a website. You got to have some element of joint venture marketing in your marketing plan. And so in the last few minutes, I'd love if you would share, kind of about your business, what you specialize in. If somebody's interested in learning more, reaching out to you, what's that set of services that you provide for the business owner that wants to implement this in their business?
Sure. So talking to companies, we get a feel for the product, the market, the ideal client. Then we walk you through systematically. Well, for one, we start with the strategy. We look at where you're at in the business and what the most logical joint venture strategy is. And we actually have you choose a primary and a secondary method, because there's more than one way to do this. And from there, we start applying it. So it's a framework it literally does just snap into the business. I find there's a lot of people who are paying for ads that they're kind of tapped out and they want an additional traffic source, or they find that the iOS updates blocking those ads. Now their cost per lead has gone from, $3 to $50, and it's just no longer sustainable to run that traffic. So whether you're wanting to augment your traffic or have a completely different traffic source that helps you scale systematically, we help you with the strategy. We guide you to the path to find your most optimal partners, and we show you how to reach out to them, how to get the conversations going, how to be introduced to them, how to guide those conversations that lead to booked promotions and deeper integrated partnerships. And then we train you and your team how to fulfill on that across the board, managing all the information, the relationships, knowing who to reach out to when, the project management side, the information management side. It's a combination of tools, workflows, and habits that I call the power trifecta. And it really is like a big cookie cutter. You get this in place, which only takes a couple weeks. And then it's a cookie cutter you're putting down over and over, creating duplicatable results. It's a self-replicating system. And the other nice thing about it is if you are really wanting to ramp it up, you just increase the volume of outreach. And if you've got a family vacation or other things coming up, maybe you have a seasonal time that gets really heavy, you simply dial it back. So you have a big volume knob on on how much you want to ramp it up. You could be a Jackson Milan booking 65 joint ventures in like basically almost one or more a day. Or you can dial it back a little bit if that volume is too much. So we basically help you put this in place systematically, and love to chat with anyone who would like to determine how these strategies can be leveraged in your business.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to have all your information and anything you want to put below this recording on the page below. But do you offer any services like agency side where if I don't have the resources in-house to manage and execute this type of a strategy, do you offer those?
Well, people ask me all the time. No, I don't. But what frequently happens is we will train people's joint venture managers. We'll train, in fact, Brian Tracy's team is hiring a new JV manager and they want me to train them. So frequently we'll have owners and like a core team member operation side and someone who is going to be having these conversations with partners, building these relationships. So we train the team, and then we also, as we're helping companies implement, we're only bringing in the people that need to be part of each piece. And it's a fully integrated system. You'll be able to find anything you need within 5 seconds related to any of these partners, promotions, high ticket leads. The operation side of handing this to the team to put together anything that's needed, we supply all of that. Every tiny nuance is templated out. It's the whole thing is like a thoroughly dialed SOP top to bottom.
Awesome. So I can, even if I don't have the internal resources, I can get it up and running pretty quick.
Yes. And then someone, of course, needs to be having conversations with the partners. But like one of my other clients, his wife is coming back into the workforce after a few years off. I'm training her how to get up and going with this. Her first JV call, not that everyone will know this name, but it was with a Nick Singal. So she's starting with someone with like a 1.2 million person list.
Yeah.
Just start here.
Well, obviously, I will be doing this for my own business. That's just obvious. But I would encourage anyone watching this to absolutely reach out, because again, I think this is a fundamental marketing strategy for every business. It's a higher level strategy where it's one of those things where once you see it, you can't unsee it. I often sit and have to remind myself, like, don't chase the easy peanuts on the ground. Let's go and find the bigger relationships where I can do an entire year's sales, with one JV promotion, right? Like,
yeah, that's actually what got me going with this. Cause, I worked in the Silicon Valley for 15 years as a director at $1 billion software company. So when I came out and created a productivity training in this market, I literally had no one to sell it to. It was like, really no one, because I was new to the space. So yeah, I started connecting with people and having conversations online and in person. And there was a person in Australia with a list of 3,000 entrepreneurs. I'm like, how about I provide a free training to your folks? He's like, perfect. So I had 100 people register for this training. 50 ideal clients showed up. I converted 17%. My list grew immediately. And I was like, what if I did this every month? What if I did this every week? What if I systematized it? And then I noticed all the big players were doing it too. No matter what marketing leader you follow, they're using joint ventures to fill their programs and offers too.
It is like one of those secret weapons no one talks frequently about.
Yeah, it's, referring to someone in the online space, Ryan Levesque, who wrote the book Ask, his launch before
Good friend of ours.
his launch before last did 8 million.
Yep.
And 40% of that was through partners, 20% through Facebook, and the other 40% from his own list.
Today's Elliot's birthday, by the way.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
If you want to reach out and say happy birthday.
I do. Thank you for that. And I've done this with a lot of clients. Catherine Dunn, who helps people build courses, her and her team, they hired me, showed them how to JV, gave them the systems, trained them on them. They landed 12 partners in 2.5 days that brought in $127K within a month. And that represented a 45% increase in their revenue. And now joint ventures are their primary marketing strategy.
So smart. I love it.
Yeah, it's very satisfying to get people those kind of results over and over and over.
Yeah. Well, you're the expert. So thank you very, very, very much for taking your time today. I know you're busy, and sharing your wisdom with us. Again, I'd encourage everyone watching this to reach out and connect with you and see how this can really transform your business. So thank you very much.